Hello, and welcome to our webinar, 3 Common Website Mistakes and How to Fix Them. My name is Drew. I'm the Marketing Director at Aurora Digital Services in Eastern Florida. And Aurora is a small business-oriented marketing team that seeks to offer businesses the resources that they need to thrive. We opt for cost-effective methods to increase your audience and to grow your business. So we've really been looking forward to connecting with you as a special group of business entrepreneurs, people who've been brave enough to step out into the unknown, who are working like crazy to make their ideas come to life. And I applaud you if you've taken that huge step in building a website for your business, because while there are so many amazing DIY drag and drop website builders out there, there's really no way to get around some of those smaller behind the scenes details that make your website great. And that's really what we're going to be exploring today in our webinar, 3 Common Website Mistakes and How We'll Fix Them. So thankfully, most of these changes are simple to learn and free to fix. So we're thrilled to be sharing a lot of those practical resources with you today. If you don't already follow us on social media, please take a minute to like our Aurora Digital Services Facebook page and follow us on Instagram so we can stay connected. We love sharing practical resources for small business, for web design, social media, or marketing in general. So go ahead and take a minute to follow us today. Also, before getting started, I'd like to note that our team offers free website assessments. So if you're interested in having another set of eyes walk through your website with you, you can go to our website and request a free web assessment at auroradigitalservices.com/startaproject and then select the option for web assessment, and we'll happily take some time to offer our feedback. All right, so let's dive into our topics for today. First, let's clarify the focus of our time together. These next few minutes are for those hardworking, motivated individuals who've taken the time to learn how to build a website or are just beginning their venture and are looking to maybe build a better website experience for visitors or gain more clients, people who want to increase the return on investment, or you're just ready to update your website and take your marketing efforts to the next level. And that really is a worthwhile investment because your website is the cornerstone to your online presence. Statistically, a user forms an opinion about your website in anywhere from 3 to 5 seconds. So that's precious time you can't waste, but for some people it is costing sales. So our goal today is to explore those 3 common trouble areas, how to fix them so we can enhance the all-around value of your web presence. So the 3 topics we'll focus on specifically today are content, user experience, and search engine optimization, or SEO. Oftentimes, as our team reviews client websites, we find these 3 top areas that need the most help. So for content, this means having compelling written copy, quality imagery, and a strong call to action strategy. For user experience, we'll be looking into creating a great first-time or repeat experience for your website visitors, and then reviewing some basic design principles. Number 3, for SEO, is perhaps the most daunting topic, that tackling your SEO entails delivering fast load times, writing keywords, and curating your search appearance to attract more organic traffic from search engines. And again, as we've partnered with clients to help them design their websites, these are 3 trouble areas we consistently encounter. So thankfully, even DIYers with a little bit of time and determination can tackle these areas and really enhance your online home base significantly. So let's go ahead and start with the first area that we find is lacking in a lot of websites, and that is content. So for your written copy, it's so important to make a good first impression. Remember when I said people form an opinion of your website in 3 to 5 seconds? That's not only reflective of your website, but really of your entire brand. So before writing your website copy, it really helps to know your brand and your audience well. So for example, you can ask yourself things like, do I consider my brand's personality to be witty or straightforward, formal or informal? And once you've identified attributes like that, start writing that way. Most importantly, just remember who you're writing for. So don't make your audience wade through long sentences. You really want to make sure that all of your sentences are concise. So have you ever been to a website that says something like, We deliver quality, cutting-edge, trusted, technologically advanced solutions, and you really just want to know that you're buying a kitchen appliance that won't let you down. So no matter what you're writing about, less is more. And here's the award-winning formula to writing great website copy. Assume that every visitor on your website is new, and you need to clearly lay out what you're offering. You need to clearly explain how it makes your customers' lives better, what they'll miss out on if they don't get it, and then how they can get it. At this point, it's worth noting that if writing is not your strong suit, I would recommend considering outsourcing to a connection from LinkedIn or a Facebook group, or hire a freelancer through a site like Upwork. Your messaging really matters, and for your audience's sake, if you confuse, you lose. Another element that's just as important as copy in your website is imagery. So just like your messaging is a facet of your brand, imagery also plays a major role in your website. When users go to your website and pictures take a long time to load or they appear blurry, customers will be really quick to question the quality of your brand. There are simple ways, though, to ensure that your image quality is not affecting your website. Number one is you make sure to use quality images. If you don't have high quality pictures, use template images from your website builder, or you can download free professional pictures from websites like Canva or Pexels. Understand not everyone has a professional photographer on their team, so there are numerous resources where you can get great high quality images to use for your website. And number two, when you're downloading these images, make sure that you're selecting the correct file size. Most web building platforms have their own guidelines for recommended file sizes. It can be really helpful to reference if you need a place to start. Now, ultimately, reducing the file size of your images will result in better site quality and overall faster page load times. And three, even if you are downloading smaller files, you can even further compress your images with plugins or by saving as a web format in Photoshop. The last trouble area in website copy that we find most often are CTAs, or call to actions. Here's one mistake I notice when I'm looking at a lot of websites, is that every call to action button says something vague like learn more. And this is fine if you are in fact inviting users to learn more, but consider your overall CTA buttons as part of a bigger strategy in your website. So think of your CTA buttons as a guide to cue users to their next step in the sales process. Something more direct like send my free quote or start my free trial are going to be way more productive and effective than vague terms like learn more or get started. So something to keep in mind is that every button on your website should be an opportunity to make a sale. That means that they should be placed in strategic areas on your website, so you can consider some key places where it may not seem obvious to place a call to action button, like your main header or in your about and your contact page. Make sure that you're maximizing on your website real estate and place a call to action button in every section. Now, the second mistake that we see a lot of DIY web designers make is not investing in the user experience. What I mean by that is the website isn't designed for the person using it. So a website is like your office that stays open 24/7 for customers. So the key concept you really want to keep in mind when you're curating a user experience is how do I create a frictionless, positive experience for anyone visiting my website? So some questions you might want to ask yourself would be, what would the most effective way to structure this website for a first-time viewer? What information is most beneficial to my audience? Then how do I present that information simply and in a logical order? So let's say I'm designing a website for a pottery class, and I can tell the audience all about the class materials and how the studio got started and the instructors, but that's really not the primary information that my audience would be seeking. So instead, I should be asking the questions a new student would ask. I'd write a way more user-friendly website if I wrote to answer questions like, who can join these classes? Where are the classes held? How much do they cost? And how do I sign up? And once you've adopted the mindset of your user, you've added value to your content, and then you can map out how to present that information logically. And that's really the key to creating a great user experience, is making helpful, relevant information as accessible as possible. So many businesses write in jargon or they spew impressive statistics, but what really matters is serving your website visitors. So this also looks like making sure that your website functions properly. Make sure every link in your website is working and has a direct call to action. Also, work to minimize the number of hoops that your user has to jump through. If you have a registration portal or a checkout process, only request the information that you need and simplify the steps as much as possible. You want to try to work to eliminate any extra steps that might cause friction. Knowing that people often choose the path of least resistance, put yourself in your customer's shoes and create a website that you would appreciate using. Now, I'd like to take the next few minutes to address one of the hidden areas that can really affect user experience, and that is the general design of your website. So the amazing thing about building your own website is that you don't have to be a professional designer to use platforms like Wix or Squarespace or WordPress. However, a poorly designed website can be really distracting for users, so it's important to understand even the most basic principles of design. The 4 principles that we'll be focusing on today are contrast, alignment, repetition, and proximity. Contrast is so important for legibility and representing the hierarchy of your page information. So if your audience has a difficult time reading your text, that's a huge frustration for your audience and a huge loss on your part. So it's best to use dark text on light backgrounds and vice versa, and larger text and headings and smaller text and paragraphs, complementary colors, and so on. For instance, if you don't know what colors work well together, there's some free resources like Adobe Color has a color wheel where you can create your own color palette and get a better feel for what works well together. Also, most font websites give an indication of good font pairings that work well in contrast with one another. You can find a lot of resources like that online. Number 2, alignment. While you're creating neat paragraphs, giving your design a uniform look, it also really helps the reader focus more on content rather than getting distracted by looking or trying to make sense of the layout. So the last thing you want is someone visiting your website and leaving because that formatting was confusing or off-putting. It's important also to create cohesive designs throughout your website. As a general rule, all of your headings, paragraphs, and decorative text should maintain the same sizing and color on every page of your website. So for instance, the heading on your home page should be the same size as the heading on your About page. And in addition to maintaining text formatting, good repetition also looks like using all of the same elements for bulleted lists and implementing a graphic theme that carries across multiple pages. Find a balance and carrying those repetitious themes throughout your site make for a very strong visual presentation. Lastly, when proximity is done right, it eliminates confusion by bringing context to your design. Headings should be close in distance to their paragraphs, and images should be relevant and close by to their nearby text. Similarly, creating an appropriate amount of white space between your sections gives your design room to breathe, and it visually cues your audience that you're moving on to a new topic. And while these 4 principles aren't the only guides for good design, they're a great place to start to helping your website have a more polished and more professional experience. As we move into our final topic, search engine optimization, I'd like to take a minute to note that this is a hugely broad topic. So if you're a dedicated learner and you have a desire to tackle this yourself, it's absolutely doable. However, if this is something you can't dedicate a lot of time to learning, plenty of people trust their optimization to an SEO expert. So let's take a look at search engine optimization, or SEO. In short, SEO is the criteria that search engines like Google use to determine what websites to feature in ranking order on search engine pages that are the most beneficial to users. So when it comes to optimizing your website, the key concept to keep in mind is, how do I create the optimal user experience so I can attract organic traffic from search engines? And this is, in a sense, the summation of the topics we've already discussed, but it does go one step further than just providing a great user experience. It does get more technical. Because search engines prioritize the most helpful, relevant web pages to the top of the search results, it's important to know what criteria is most important so you can consistently rank well. So first things first, if you're new to SEO, I would recommend downloading an SEO plugin that can walk you through optimizing your website. This helps you index your website to Google. It helps you write keywords and meta descriptions. In general, it can eliminate a lot of the ambiguity that you need to wade through to appear in search engine results. I also recommend running your site through a free website grader to identify more specific trouble areas that might be compromising your search rank. This can help you target more specific growth areas and will likely lead to you learning a lot more about the behind the scenes operations of your website. So that is definitely a win-win scenario. So what makes for an optimized website? Google offers a full-length guide to SEO. Here's some basic categories that you can look at to help you understand things that might be keeping you from ranking well. Those are search appearance, load times, responsive design, and relevant content. So here's some practical ways to know if your website is optimized. When people search for your website, do they see a meta description that you have written or the one that Google has designated for you? Is your page loading in under 5 seconds? Can mobile users view your website easily on their phone and on desktop? And is your content concise and relevant? So let's take a deeper dive. In search appearance, when you Google your business, let's see what comes up. First of all, can you find yourself? Do you have a really clean title and a good description of your website or a meta description? Is it everything that you expected to see? If not, you need to work on editing your search appearance and your meta description. This is an important first impression that, if done well, will compel people to click on your website. A good meta description is informative, it has a quick answer to what users are searching for, and it has a strong call to action inviting someone to your website. Have you checked your website to ensure it looks good on desktop, mobile, and tablet? I know a lot of drag and drop website builders have split editing views so you can make sure to adapt your designs for any type of device. But for instance, you can see if you don't have your viewport structured accurately, things will look really different on desktop than they may do on mobile. Many designers don't spend a lot of time trying to understand how websites are structured for that adaptation, so learning how to format the outline of your website will make transitioning to mobile or tablet designs from desktop much easier, and it'll make for much less work in your future designs. On average, over 50% of users will ditch a website if it takes longer than 3 seconds to load. So we discussed previously the importance of using appropriately sized files. If you use image file sizes that are too large, you're certain to increase the time it takes to load your page. So there could be a myriad of other reasons that your website could be slow, but I'd recommend running your website through the website grader if you're uncertain of a cause. And there are small steps you can take that will have a big effect on your overall load times. If you're not sure how to fix some of those persistent problems, it's absolutely worth it to hire someone to take a look for you. And lastly, one way Google prioritizes what websites to feature first are based on what is most helpful in answering someone's search query. So when you're preparing your website, it's important to use keywords that would be most helpful to addressing your audience's questions. This means naturally implementing keywords that people would use into your content. Google offers several free and paid tools for doing keyword research, so you can look into Google Trends, AdWords, and Keyword Planner as helpful resources to help you get started. But overall, to gain a better understanding of how your users respond to the changes you make on your website, I recommend investing time and investing into your website analytics. So linking Google Analytics or an Insight plugin to your website can offer you a lot of helpful data that you can track over time to determine your website's effectiveness. And for instance, if people are bouncing or leaving your website as soon as they get there, you might want to try rearranging some information or changing your call to action button strategy, or even rewriting some content and seeing how that changes your data over time. And again, SEO is definitely the most expansive of all the website topics that we've discussed so far, so don't feel badly if it's just too big of a task for you to take on. Many people entrust their SEO to professionals, but because SEO is crucial for a website, prioritize learning about the basics or hire someone to lend a hand. If you think about it, there's really no point in having a website if people can't find you. But thankfully, even those small actions can contribute greatly to your SEO efforts. Well, I know we've just reviewed a ton of content. So to summarize our time together today, as you're developing a user experience and working to grow your business, remember to ask yourself the most important question: is this website best serving my customers? So let's recap some of those key takeaways for today. 1, do I have compelling written copy that puts my customers first? 2, what changes can I make to ensure that they're getting the information I need? 3, is my site tailored to providing a great experience that users want to come back to? And 4, am I maximizing on my online presence by being easily found and having a helpful website? That's what great websites do. They communicate effortlessly on behalf of a business to their ideal customers. So whether that's through concise writing or beautiful designs or navigation that feels second nature for users. If you'd like more information on how our team designs websites and our processes, you can check out our website at auroradigitalservices.com or follow along on social media. Again, we love sharing resources and helpful tips, and we try to do so frequently. Also, if you'd like a free website assessment, you can go to auroradigitalservices.com/startaproject to request a time to meet, and one of our team members would happily take time to walk through your website with you and offer their expertise. Thanks so much for joining today. We really hope this information was helpful, and we certainly wish you the best in your business.